You guys, we have got to talk about Chad Franke because he was speaking out last week in a podcast with Taylor Lautner and his wife, Taylor Lautner. He's opening up about his experience growing up online, talking about Ruby, and we're going to get into what Chad has had to say. Taylor Lautner said that he reached out to Chad via DMs, and Chad at first didn't even believe it was really him, but him and his wife wanted to sit down with Chad on their podcast called The Squeeze. So for those of you who maybe missed this or need a refresher, Chad is one of the older children from the Franke family, the YouTube family known for the channel 8 Passengers, which Ruby Franke ran. The channel was known for its strict parenting methods, and for a long time, people had really serious concerns about the way that the kids were being treated in the family. Then, of course, everything escalated when Ruby Franke was arrested and later sentenced in one of the most disturbing cases involving a YouTube family. She had been working closely with a woman named Jody Hildebrandt, who was arrested alongside with her, and together they ran a parenting advice group called Connections. We've seen a lot of coverage on the family since Jody and Ruby's arrest, and Kevin, her husband, and her oldest daughter Sherry have also been in a documentary with Chad covering the subject. Sherry has been advocating for children of influencers a ton over the last year in an effort to try and make changes to protect children from what happened within her family. But on this podcast, we were really hearing what Chad had to say more than ever before, and he detailed the moment that really got her canceled. He said it was after she posted the video where he had confessed to the camera that he hadn't been sleeping in a bed for the last 7 months and that he was sleeping on a beanbag chair. And this started to go around online, and Ruby was furious. People viewed her in this negative light.
You guys know the video with, me sitting on the ground with her, and I finally revealed that I wasn't sleeping on a bed for a certain amount of months. And then when that video was posted, no joke, like that day was when the cancellation started. Like immediate backlash on her, huge unfollowing. I don't know much about news outlets, but basically TikTok was the big push to kind of cancel her.
Yeah.
And that's when I started seeing her panic a little bit. And I remember sitting in the living room just doing my homework, and I don't think I've ever shared this before. After that video came out and the controversy started hitting, she ran into the living room and she was like, "You bitch, you did that on purpose. You knew what you did. You knew what you were saying." And she was just yelling, and I haven't seen this out of her in a long time, like a very, very long time. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I know people are upset with you. And then my dad actually came down and was like, "Ruby, you need to leave. Like, you need to get away from him. He obviously didn't plan this. He didn't plan for you to get canceled." And
how old were you at that point?
I was 15.
Taylor then asks a really good question about what Chad was thinking at that age, like hearing people say these things about his parents being bad parents, asking if he felt validated seeing people call out what was happening to him at home, or if he was defensive because those are his parents.
During that time, I was working with Jody very tightly, very closely. She was my therapist, and I had like a love for her in a sense where I trusted everything she told me to do.
For sure.
And same with my mom.
Yeah.
And so when I saw everything go down, I didn't really think much of it. In fact, I actually knew how much money they were making, and I was nervous about the money. And to know that the views were going to go down and that the sponsorships were going to go down, that was kind of my main focus. Was, oh no, we're gonna lose money as a family.
Did you feel a little guilty for affecting that?
I wouldn't say guilty, because I knew that wasn't my purpose or my motive in saying the beanbag thing. I knew I wasn't trying to make them lose money, but yeah, I was nervous for my parents to lose all their income. That was my big concern.
They ended up asking Chad about the documentary that was recently released and how there was footage shown in it that didn't make it to their YouTube videos. Times where Ruby told him to pretend to be happy, or told the kids that their YouTube channel was the reason why they were on a vacation, so they needed to act right. And Chad talks about how he didn't see these clips before they were shown the documentary.
I didn't see them before. So when the trailer was released, I was like, oh wow, that brings back a lot of memories.
Oh wow.
So but before they made everything, they showed it to me, and I pre-watched the documentary before it was released. But with the trailer, that kind of was like, whoa, those are some crazy memories to look back on. And I do remember those feelings, because in my mind, the whole thing, when they wanted me to say something and I didn't even feel like it, my mindset was like, okay, this is a job. This is how I play football in the summer. This is how we get to go on vacations. I can tell she's upset with me, so I'm just gonna say it because this is how we make money.
He later talked about how when he first talked to Ruby after her arrest, she seemed to be in the same mindset that she had been in. And he was trying to tell her, Jesus wouldn't do this. And he said it was the first time someone was really fighting back on her logic in a long time. And he said a few days later, she called him and she was crying the whole time. He couldn't even get a word in because she was so upset on the phone, just, trying to tell him that he was right and she was in the wrong. And then he revealed that in that call, she told him that she was going to try and get the money he earned from their YouTube channel back to him because it was all gone.
And she's like, I've thought about everything you said, and I realized like you are completely right, and no one has ever talked to me that way, the way you talk to me, and I realized what I've done is wrong. And then she started talking about money because a week before she was arrested, my savings account, everything I earned from the YouTube channel, wiped, zero, no money. And to this day, I still haven't gotten that back. So everything I earned from that 8 Passengers channel, I have nothing now from it. So it's just crazy. And she finally, in that call where she was crying, she says, I promise I'll get every penny back to you. I'll talk to my lawyer. And
he says maybe one day he will talk to her again, but that was the last time that they spoke. But he says that she had tried to reach out again.
Through letters.
Okay.
Yeah. She would send them to our home address. And then eventually the prison stopped allowing her to do that because it was like invading our personal space or sending them directly to us. So yeah, she's written like 4 or 5 letters to me throughout the year. Even though she's still in the mindset of being apologetic and, knowing that she was guilty of everything, the letters were still very spiritual. And to me, it's like, you kind of broke that trust talking about God so much with me that I don't really want to talk about God with you again, because you just
weaponized God.
Yeah, you just weaponized it, and that's a perfect word for it. Weaponized it and just spoiled and rotten my whole view on that because of you. And I'm trying to redirect it in a different way from what you did. So every time I read her letter, it just feels like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And so she hasn't written one in probably a year.
When talking about forgiveness, Chad seems to wish Ruby well, but says he can't forget what's happened.
Everything is in the past. Like, it's over. Everyone's safe. The story's kind of done. It felt like a movie for a long time, and now I feel like the movie's at an end. That is a complicated question, because I do forgive her in a sense of I want her to from now on live the best life she possibly can. I want her to be a better person. I want her to eventually grow up to have relationships again and be safe with people and trust people so people can trust her too. And I wish her the complete best. But seeing the action she did, it's like I can't just forget about that and then forgive her and have a full relationship with her again. But the word forgiveness, I love that word, and I love the thought of forgiving someone and still loving someone. So I feel like I'm on the fence of loving them and forgiving them, but not having a relationship with them. So I love it.
He was asked a really good question about when he realized what Ruby was doing was wrong, and he said it was a gradual process because he was so in this world of distortion. And so when his mom tried to defend herself to him, he was understanding what she was saying. Her reasons were, and he believed her. And it wasn't until later on and the help of social media where he could see how wrong she really was.
It was very gradual.
Yeah.
In fact, in the first week or two, I was totally on her side for everything.
Yeah.
And I said this in the documentary, as sad as it is to say, like when she described the as saving the kids from demons, I believed that. I truly did, because I was fed all the spiritual
knew
stuff.
nothing else.
And that's all I knew for a long time. And I believed that, and it was really hard for me to detox from that. And it definitely was a gradual thing. It was a big gradual thing. And social media is not the best place for answers or truth, but I will say some of the videos they posted about like my past in 8 Passengers, they posted some 8 Passengers videos. Watching those videos, they started to make me realize like, okay, yeah, that was definitely bad. Oh, okay, yeah, she was definitely in the wrong right there. And so watching those videos, I slowly realized, okay, 8 Passengers wasn't a very healthy film style.
Now, Chad does address later how people kind of react when he doesn't just rip into his mom, and how he can still say that he loves her. And he does go on to defend how he addresses her.
I'd say people are really nice to me on social media. I don't think anyone has misconceptions. The biggest misconception, I think, is I'm actually shocked with how many people actually believe this, that like I'm still brainwashed in a sense, where me saying that I love my mom just for being my mom, people really think that I'm still in a brainwashed state. And I'm like shocked by that. It's like, to me, she's still my mom, and like what she did is terrible. And I won't have a relationship with her, and I don't have a relationship with her, but I can still say I love someone, and I think a lot of people, they're shocked by that, and they think I'm still in a brainwashed state.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I know I can't like just clear by saying it that I'm not brainwashed, but yeah, that's one thing that kind of bugs me.
Chad talks about how him and his family have weekly family dinners and that they have tried to move on and leave the past in the past, which is good to hear that everyone is on good terms. I know people have been skeptical of Kevin, but I think if Sherry is on good terms with him, then it's saying a lot to people as they are trusting her in this. And I think that everyone should just want the best for this family. If they're associating with Kevin, then at this point, so be it. Like, they've been through enough. And if he has changed his ways with parenting the younger kids, then that's all people can hope for. But that's what Chad had to say when on Taylor and Taylor's podcast. He definitely shared a lot that we hadn't heard before. I mean, he even talked about at one point how he was pulled out of doing sports, and it was the one thing that he kind of regrets not rebelling against. He says he wished that he snuck out and went to track practice. Like, he wishes that he had just done that because he was just so upset with the fact that his parents took that away from him because it was seen as distortion. But it was very interesting to hear Chad actually open up about things way further than just a documentary. Because over the years, we have heard from Sherry how she's viewed her parents and the parenting. She's come out with a book. She's been vocal on social media, but Chad really had his moment to open up here. Let me know if you guys watched this interview, what you thought about what Chad had to say. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.